hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Girls hit you, hallelujah. Cause Uptown Funk gon' give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk gon' give it to you. Cause Uptown Funk gon' give it to you. Saturday night and we in the spot. Don't believe me, just watch. Don't believe me, just watch. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. I said uptown, funk you up. 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 I said uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Uptown, funk you up. Yeah, yeah,
All right. Welcome everyone live here to our event in partnership with the one and only Notion. Add a reaction if you are a fan of this brand. Don't you dare give them a thumbs down. We love Notion over here at the Community Collective. And we are so excited to bring you this live event on how to build cohort-based programs with Notion. I am here as your host. My name is Paz Bazarski. I'm one of the co-founders of the Community Collective. And I'm just so pumped to bring you here all live to learn from Leah, Sean, and Rohit. Let's give them a huge round of applause and some butter love for all of their efforts. Now, before we join in, we have a very important ritual here at the Community Collective in which we always start with an acknowledgement of country. Now, my brother went and filmed this of my hometown. This is Torquay. This is opposite where I live. I'm literally at this co-working space just around the corner from there it is on the banks. That is where I live, and that is the land of the Wadawurrung people. And I would like to acknowledge them as the traditional owners of the land in which I'm tuning in from today. But hey, you may be tuning in from all over the world. So please, everyone right now, post the name of your city in the chat. I want to know where you are. I know Leah is in Washington, D.C. Sean's in Melbourne, but usually in Adelaide. Rohit is in Melbourne. Venetia is in Sydney. But we're going to post in the chat now where you're tuning in from live because we would love to hear it. And if you don't know the traditional owners of the land in which you're tuning in from, you can also go to the link in the chat to work out who the traditional owners are. And so as well, we also need to understand one other important element, which is butter. Now, you may be allergic or dairy intolerant like some of us here today, but that is actually the name of the tech tool in which we are tuning in from. So I would like to hear, is this anyone's first time using butter? Is this anyone's first time using butter? You can just simply post a yes in the chat because this might be the first time that you're connecting on this tech tool, which means that we would like to understand how to actually use this today. Now, the only things that you need to understand about butter is that you have these reactions on the left Okay, we got a lot of new butter users. Oh, Anna's here. George, Ian, Kaya, Katie. Sick, love that. Well, Lynn, if you're like Lynn, who is the first time using butter, I'd like you all to go to the reactions on the left because you're going to use the brain emoji. I want you to click the brain emoji right now. That's when to use that when Sean says something that just blows your mind and you need to click the brain emoji. Or perhaps Leah says something that you just 100% relate to, then you're going to click the hallelujah hands emoji, number 6. Or maybe Rohit just cracks a joke and you are just laughing and then you are going to hit the number 3 emoji because Rohit's hilarious and he's got at least 2,500 jokes for you today about cohort-based programs with Notion. So I can't wait to hear those, Ro. And as well, if you have a question, we're going to have plenty of time for you to jump up on the butter stage and ask a question. You'll be able to go into the queue and click I have a question. Now, our panelists will also be using this when they have a comment and they want to debate something that Sean said or disagree with Leah. Now, don't use the I have an idea because we don't have time for that today, but we do have time for the chat. And so we've got Venetia, our tech master, who's looking after the chat. If you have any questions or tech issues on butter, which we hope you don't, that is there for you. Now, you all know how to use the reactions. I'd like you to go to the reactions and give me a thumbs up if this is the first time you're attending an event with the Community Collective. Give me a thumbs down if you are returning. This is not your first rodeo, you're CCing. Okay. Whoa, love all the repeat coming back legends. But for those who ticked yes, and this is the first event with the Community Collective, welcome. How exciting. Well, we actually started as a meetup in 2021 for community builders who were building startup communities in Melbourne. We caught up in between the 4th and 5th Melbourne lockdowns in the Commons in Cremorne to actually just help each other in our roles. But what we didn't realize is that that would go viral. Whoops, not the COVID kind, but the good kind where hundreds of people shared this Airtable registration link to sign up to access these meetups, similar to today, where we catch up every month and just talk about how do you build community. And so that actually ended up as a 15,500 audience today across 18 countries with a community of over 700 people. And today we've ran over 7 of our own cohort programs that have helped businesses build a community and actually master community-led growth. We started our cohort programs in 2022 with 36 members, and now we average approximately 100 people per cohort, which is a wild west. I mean, add a reaction if you are a CCN, respect. But it has been an absolute journey because through that time, we have learned a lot of running our own programs. And that's exactly what we're here to speak about today, because running a cohort-based program can be tough. And you might be serving businesses like we have in the past from Google, KPMG, Airtree, Canva around a particular outcome that they are trying to achieve. So you're taking them through this time-bound experience where you want to actually deliver more impact for those people. And as well, something that has been incredible is seeing hybrid programs. Our own program at the Community Collective is both in person. These are all our members catching up across New York, Bangalore, and London. But there's also a huge online component. But running a program can be tough. I personally have been running a program for over 7 iterations, and it is freaking hard work. It can be confusing. You don't understand how much time commitment there is. How do you price the program? How do we understand how to get our first 10 people in the program? There are all these types of questions that you might be thinking here today, which brings you to this live event. And that's exactly why we are here today. Whether you're watching the recording or tuning in live, the purpose is to really understand what the hell is going on when you're designing a time-bound cohort-based program, and how do we actually leverage incredible tech tools like Notion to set up back-end systems and really have really clean operations. So how today's going to run, we're going to kick off with a check-in. We're then going to have a panel discussion with Sean, Leah, and Ro. We're going to have audience Q&A. You are all active participants here. Please leave the room if you are not giving us your full attention. I want you to close down all your 1,000 other tabs, like stop driving the car, pull over, and just give us your attention, because you all have a role today, which is to think of one question to ask Sean, Leah, or Rohit live about building programs or sharing any secrets that you have about how you use Notion. And so then we're going to have a full segment of demos. We've got Sean screen sharing, giving us some demos of Notion backend systems. And then we called up the Notion team and we landed this really sick gift that we're going to give all of you as well today, which is very exciting. So who's pumped? I'm pumped. Oh my God, we're going to give you a prize because you're all legends. But today we wanted to actually just say thank you for joining this live. We're going to gift you all right now in the chat 6 months free of Notion Business and AI. So if you're like listening to the demos and you're like, whoa, like I want to use Notion, we've got you 6 months free. Venetia will put that link in the chat. It is a gift and you can sign up if you're a startup and running a business and get free Notion for 6 months on the business plan as well, which has all the AI features. So I can't even handle how many people. Everyone give a wave. We're all humans here connecting live to learn from Sean, Leah, and Ro. How exciting. Sometimes you forget that there's like people on the other side of each screen. Now, we are going to quickly ask a really important question before we jump into our panel today, because we want to actually understand who is here actually running a program. Like, are you deep in this work right now and you're actually running a program yourself? Because that is what we would like to understand. So there is a poll here, and I would like you just to answer yes or no, because basically you'll be the question is, who is currently running a cohort-based program? If you are, maybe you've got it launched in your business, you're like ready, you're an expert. I hope all our panelists tick yes for that question. And maybe you're in the not yet. You're just like, that's not me. I'm not running a program. All right, results are coming in. Oh, okay, this is interesting. All right. We have at least 25 people who are not yet running a program, but we've got 19 pros here live. Okay, that's 25 people now who are running program. We should all just have coffee and hang out and talk about running programs more often. Love that. Love that. All right. Are you ready for the next question? This is the last question in our check. You got to be fast around here. You know, no multitasking in these events. The next question we would like to ask you is about Notion, because that is a big part of today is understanding the tech tool itself and the ops, right? So we want to ask you, are you using Notion? Are you a diehard fan? You're like 100% Paz. Like maybe you're Alex Dam, who's from the Notion team, who's here live as well. So definitely diehard fan over there. You're like, yes, I'm a bit new though. You're like kind of like just putting my toe in the water. Maybe you're a bit here to learn a bit more. Okay, just not yet. Just people who are like, I have not yet gone into that. Well, you can totally jump on the free 6 months. Okay, whoa, Alex, like I'm just so pumped for the Notion team because there's 24 diehard fans here. So we're going to have to give some expert tips for these people. But we've got 21 people who are just new and then aren't really sure about that. And then we've got 6 people who are not yet even exploring. All right, well, that is plenty context for our panel discussion, where I now have the pleasure of introducing you to each panelist. The first person I'm going to introduce you to is Sean. If you've never met Sean before, he is from Sell Anything, and they have launched Australia's first B2B sales accelerator, which is super exciting. They've just wrapped up an intake and they're gearing up for their next intake. Sean's usually based in Adelaide, but he's in Melbourne. They're throwing a graduation party tonight for their cohort, which is very exciting. And Sean has scaled revenue from 0 to 5 million for multiple companies. He's the money master and sales genius. And we love that he's here today. He's also a cohort, I think 3-time repeat for our community cohort and chaos as well. So Sean, how are you feeling today? How are your energy levels out of 10?
I'm good. I went for a run along the Yarra this morning. Melbourne's looking pretty glorious today. So yeah, absolutely stoked. And I've been using Notion since 2020. So it's fun to talk about it with a group of other Notion users and lovers.
Love that. The old COVID starting on the tech tools. Amazing. 2020, what a year, huh? Well, Sean, it's great to have you here. Now we have Leah. So Leah is tuning in from Washington, D.C. in America, which is so cool because I'm in Australia. It's like the other side of the world. And Leah is from What the Health and also the expert author community. So she's the partnerships manager at What the Health, which is a health tech media company and community. At a reaction, if you know What the Health, absolutely love that space. And then also she's the community activator and launch lead at the expert author community. So if anyone here is trying to write a book, you're a published author, you're trying to land more marketing for your existing book, definitely check out the EAC because they are just the coolest community for writers. And she also has experience across US and Australia and 10 years in the industry because she was born in Hawaii but is across both countries. And she's a residency scene at the Community Collective. So I'm biased, but Leah, how are your energy levels out of 10 today? Give us a number.
Oh, I'm an 11. I'm pumped. I'm excited.
11.
I'm ready.
Just off the Richter scale. All right, love it. Amazing. Just created a whole new level of pumped. Love that. Well, all right. Last but not least, we've got Ro as well, who's tuning in from Melbourne. He's from the Como Club and also Playbook Ventures. And Ro has actually launched the second cohort that he's been running, which is helping founders and executives really understand well-being and just living a life that's worth living and not getting swept up in burnout and just letting life pass you by. And he's been also the general partner of Playbook Ventures, which invests in early stage tech startups. And as well, I love that you've been a cohort number 5 alum, Ro. And so you're going to have to tell us how are your energy levels out of 10 right now, Ro? Surely they just increased.
Energy levels are super high. I'm still on a high from this weekend. As anyone can see over my shoulder, I'm a huge Liverpool fan. It's had a big win over the weekend and a big transfer, so I'm still living off that, and will be for a little while.
Oh, congratulations. I'm like so happy for you. That's sick. Love a good win. Well, I also love talking about programs. So gang, let's get stuck into this conversation because we've got a lot of experts here who are running programs, who are looking to start their own programs. So I just want to set the scene a little bit for those people who have not yet launched a program. So this is in the person bucket who they haven't started a program yet. So Sean, I just want to set the scene. Like, why should we bother building cohort-based programs? Why don't we all just build on-demand courses and let like the self-paced model kind of run its course? And what kind of value have you personally gained from cohorts that you've been through, or the value that you've seen your own participants go through your sales accelerator?
Love it. Some good cues. So I think there's like as a learner, and then there's like as a business owner. So like as a learner, for me, I think it's the accountability side, and going far together with other people, and seeing as someone who learns maybe different to other people as well. You meet other learners who look like you, and together you kind of start to understand things. And someone says something like, "Oh, that's the framing I was hoping for." I think the accountability is the biggest part. It's so easy today to, I don't know how many people have signed up to a Udemy course and done it, but I'm very guilty as charged. Arrest me right now for spending a ton on Udemy and other programs that I never finished because it's not time-based, there's no end date, and I don't have a group to show up to every week who I'm like pumped to be hanging out with. So I think as a learner, those are all the right reasons. As a business owner though, the big thing is actually accessibility and impact. So previously ran an aged care tech company, scaled that, worked at a venture studio, taking products through growth and using sales as a tool to find product market fit. And the big thing for us is helping founders go 0 to 5 mil. The problem for early stage companies is they can't afford to hire someone like us to come in and pay us full time. So over 3 years, we wrote 40,000 words, my co-founder and I, and we turned that into our 5-week program, which was very painstaking. I just want to call that out. Like, it's not a small commitment, but what that's done is we've worked with 40 companies just this year, and we've watched all of them get their next 50K in sales, make their first sales hire, raise money, all impacts from learning. And once again, that accessibility is really great. It's probably the key part. And then the actual joy in the work has been insane. Like, we just run a 5-week program. We rock up each week. We're hanging out with 15 amazing companies, and seeing them have true change in their business, confidence, process, systems, and revenue outcomes. And we're giving people the possibility and the power to earn their own money and run their company and have an impact, which is like really special to us and means a lot. I'll pause there. We'll talk all day about it.
We're here to talk all day about it, Sean. I absolutely love that, because it really is about that outcome orientated mindset, right? We're here to drive accountability. We're making sure that you actually sign up and get the value that participants wanted. That's why they've joined a program in the first place. They've obviously got a pain or a problem that's worth solving, and someone else can help them with that. And so I love how you've articulated the accountability, but also just like the sheer joy of just running something that really actually changes lives. Now, Leah, you've got a comment, please jump in. What are you thinking about?
I just wanted to +1 on so many things Sean just said. In particular, I think accountability and also the forcing function of having an end date is really valuable in any sort of cohort-based program, because it really does force you to say, okay, what am I going to prioritize? How am I going to make the time to hit these goals? In particular, with the expert author community, it is most likely people trying to write and publish 1 book, 2 books, a number. And so making sure that you are showing up for yourself and the other people around there by the end of the intake really, I think is such a powerful thing.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And just so many friends that can be made when you, I mean, think about school. It's such a time-bound experience where you're going through and seeing the same people years and years every day for so long, and you end up hopefully with some friends at the end of that. But cohort experiences can also create and mimic those types of environments. Hopefully none of the bullying though. Okay, let's like segue, because we're going to structure this conversation in really the parts of what do you do before a program? What do you do during and running a program? And what do you do after a program ends? Like what happens in that part? So Ro, like I really want to kick off with this, like before a program starts, and we're kind of wearing the hat here for those who, you know, are not yet running programs. Can you just kind of share, Ro, like you're running your second cohort, you obviously launched it quite recently. Like what were the first steps that you took to build that first program, like get that first cohort together for the Como Club?
I think that's often like a really difficult starting point for people to just kind of understand, how does the first version of this look like? You know, do I need to have the finished product in place already? Do I need to have all of the sort of bells and whistles in place? And I think, you know, that kind of stops a lot of people from starting. I think like with anything, whether you're running a business, whether you're running a cohort-based program, a lot of the learning comes from actually doing and putting things out there. So, you know, I think that a big part of that is just understanding what the value proposition is that you're trying to offer. And there are pros and cons to everything. So, you know, for a long time, I traded off whether we make this an online thing or an in-person thing. You know, what's the right length of the program? You know, to be honest, like there's no right or wrong answer. I think you just have to pick times and kind of go with it and just find your early adopters. And I think a lot of the sort of learning kind of comes from understanding, you know, what are the core pillars that will make this successful in terms of outcomes for your cohort members. And then how do you just make sure that you kind of deliver on that? Everything else can kind of be improved or will improve as you kind of go through the process and get and collect feedback. I think there's probably like layers of that people find really difficult. So one is, you know, what's the right value proposition? You know, how do I sort of go out and do that? I think, again, I think you can go out and collect feedback and collect forms. I just personally believe that it doesn't really mean anything until people actually sign up and sort of put their money towards things as well. So as much as you can sort of go around and collect feedback and surveys, again, like I just think that you have to put something out there and just see what people are resonating with. There's layers of that. You can even just start with posting up something on social media and think that you're starting, you know, say that you're planning to start something and just see what the engagement is. If there isn't a ton of engagement, maybe you need to rework what the value proposition is or kind of speak to a few more people. And then I think like I said, I think the overarching themes of that are just trying to work out what will make this successful for your cohort. I think, and it's often a lot less than you think it is. You know, people don't need 25 different things. Often if people walk away with one or two really impactful things, that's good enough. So as long as you understand what that is and deliver on that promise, I think the rest kind of takes care of itself. But again, easier said than done.
Yeah, it's so well said, Ro. And, you know, it's a great reminder of like, just leave the perfectionism at the door. Like, I'm sure you could probably do like a program about how to build a program and, you know, you're polishing and getting the right platform and tech and spending money and building the website page. But it's like, just get your first messy first draft out there, right? We call that the MVC in the community world, the minimum viable community. Like launch, bring people together, have that first iteration and get the feedback, Ro. Like I remember when we started the first cohort program for the Community Collective, and we'd been running a couple free meetups every month. Like I heard a couple things. I spent no money at all and just launched like an EOI list on LinkedIn. I posted, created an Airtable page saying, thinking about launching a 7-week program in September to help with community building, like anyone interested. 100 people sign up within 24 hours. No price, no dates, no speakers, no website page, no tech, nothing. And I was like, okay, this is validation for me to go away and spend time on that first iteration. But Sean, jump in with a comment.
Yeah, I just think it's important to call out like starting, like what we see in social media, it looks like everyone kind of jumps to like 100 people in their program and like they're living in Bali and they're doing all this stuff. But the reality of all of that is like starting small. Like I did a different program 3 years ago called Career in Sales. And I just started with one salesperson I was training. And it was just one-to-one. It didn't scale. great for learnings. And in a similar way with what we did with the Sales Accelerator, we started with our consulting clients, just validating it and working with them one-to-one. And I think you make that jump in, Paz has been coaching us as we've been doing all this, by the way. We do advisory with Paz and it's awesome. And we've been increasing our cohort size very specifically, deliberately as well. And I think just to what everyone just said, we can't get sucked into the vacuum of the shiny with it going huge, and start small and scale from there. Yeah.
Love that. Ro, jump in and then we'll come and talk about.
Yeah, sorry, not to kind of labor on this point as well, but just piggybacking of something kind of Sean mentioned. I think there's this kind of saying that you massively overestimate what you can achieve in a year and underestimate what you can achieve in a decade. And I think that, I experienced this myself as well, having run multiple businesses as well, is all of these things that you want to do in the first year. A lot of it is just kind of planting the seeds, and whether it's kind of content or running a cohort-based program, so much of this compounds, and we're already starting to see that from the first cohort of kind of people that sort of saw things in the first one, and that just kind of massively grows from there. So I would say don't get to feel you have to jump straight to running 100 people per cohort like Paz did. In the 7th iteration of the program, you have to start small and kind of build it up from there. And again, just kind of get started. And a lot of this, as long as you're kind of focusing on providing a really great experience for your members, the referrals that kind of come off the back of that will just help you grow naturally anyway. So just start small and don't kind of talk yourself out of it.
Yes. Emoji reactions on that, Ro. It's so key. I would challenge everyone here, if you've never launched a first program yet, launch your first program and spend no money on it. Spend no money. Don't buy the fancy tech tools and the website. Just get the people in the experience, right? You've got also so many free tools like Notion, where you can stand up member directories and forms and have that MVC and just get the runs on the board, like Rohit's saying. And so, we're still in this pre-program element. The program hasn't started yet. Leah, structure design. How do we decide the optimal cohort site? Do we take 100? Do we take 5? How long is the cohort? What's the commitment level? Everyone's really busy and has 1,000 jobs and 5 side hustles and drinks lattes on the weekends. How do we make those decisions for a great cohort experience?
Yeah, great question. Listen, I think Ro kind of started this point off, so I'm just going to continue on with it, but it's just kind of starting and then iterating as you go, and understanding what your members and what the people within your cohort experience are asking for in real time. A big point of advice I would share is don't be afraid to kind of make some adjustments mid-intake. Something that we've really implemented at the expert author community that I think is such a strong decision is we have a few different points throughout the intake where we're actively getting feedback. And then we're meeting as a team, we're finding out, okay, what are the themes? What is actually attainable within this intake? And it's really led to, for example, our pitch party, which is one of our highest valued events throughout the entire intake. So I think a lot of it is iterating. It's co-creating, which is certainly a theme the Community Collective does as well. And just making sure to see what is happening, consistently having that flywheel of feedback, iteration. And then to kind of speak to your point as far as busy people, listen, everyone is always busy. So curating and understanding that from the onset, I think is really powerful. So my recommendation, especially again from the expert author community, we design everything for busy business professionals. Everything, there's an opportunity to join live. There's an opportunity to see it after the fact and async. We want to make sure that if you have the time and you want to kind of be there and be in the action and have that accountability, you can. But we also want to make sure that if people learn differently, if they prefer to just have a big block of time on their Sunday with a cup of tea, Paz, I feel like you know this, and kind of go through everything at that point, we're able to service both of those people.
Yes. I'm loving this theme of just iteration, right? It's get the first version out. It won't look like that forever. Then co-create it with the people, have focus groups, ask them, get all of the people who are your ideal customers to vote on the length of the program. We launched a challenge called Chaos, and we got everyone to vote if they wanted it 10 days, 20 days, or 8 weeks. Everyone voted 10 days. We went through the 10-day experience. We were like, okay, that was absolute chaos. Let's never do that again. Let's definitely make it 20 days. You just learn from the people. Ro, please build on the point.
Sorry, just to maybe be kind of counter to that. I think sometimes we can kind of overdo feedback a little bit as well, and we can try and make it too perfect. It's kind of one of the things that I sort of learned was, I would speak to people and some people would say like, oh, you're pricing it too high or you're pricing it too low, or the time, I prefer a morning session or I prefer an afternoon session or I prefer an evening. Like at some point you just need to make a decision and just kind of like stick to it as well. And I think that's, again, one of the things that, obviously you want to take it into sort of account, but don't like over-engineer feedback, because like it just won't be perfect for everyone in that way as well. So at some point you just have to try and collect the information, but make a decision.
The schedule juggle. I will be the bane of my existence, especially when you start going time zones, parents, school, full-time, part-time, like the whole thing. It's never going to suit everyone. So you just make it as flexible as possible. Leah, you got something to build? And then let's talk pricing strategy.
Yeah. Just as a bit of a counter to Ro, agree with you as far as just going for it. I will say, I think that there is something to be said of just making that decision based on what you're seeing from a theme or a trend, and maybe having one or two tweaks, and kind of being upfront with your members and saying, hey, this is what the cohort is going to look like this intake. And hey, this is what the cohort is going to look like next intake. And I actually think that visibility and bringing your members along the ride with you is really fun, because it creates another layer of engagement, because they're kind of saying, oh, I remember when we tried that, it was really cool. And they feel like they're a part of the action. So I would say go for it, and it's okay to change every now and then.
Yeah. Loving the spicy debate. Sean, let's add fuel to the fire. Let's talk about pricing. Like, how do you work out how much to charge for the program, and how do you sell the first 10 places?
I'm probably not going to say what people want to hear, but so something we say is value is only established in comparison, which means that like whatever you're building, you can only understand how much you can charge for it based on what is the alternative for the person who's buying what you're offering, right? So like, vitamin, painkiller, there's all these sayings, but in our example, if we do it for a business, it's going to cost them around 50 grand. We charge $6,000 for our 5-week program, and the outcomes are phenomenal. The way we got to that number was we picked a number and I just started pre-selling. So we had people asking us for basically this program already. And we start people coming inbound through content that we run on LinkedIn. I was having conversations, and I guess my whole skill set is actually around conversion, like as a salesperson. But understanding what problems they were looking to solve and getting really clear on that. We have a strategy call for all of our founders and founding sellers who go through the program, so that the outcome that they get is really baked into SMART goals. And often it's a balance of revenue outcomes, which is very tangible. So like one founder in week 3, we helped him close 50K in sales by week 3 of a 5-week program. So he spent 6K, he's made 50K. Yeah, pretty good. So like, we're very intentional, and I don't say that to flex, but I just say that is like that's the basis of what we do, right? We're meant to build revenue on people's businesses. And then the other part is to make sure that value is really clear. We have a bit of a different structure to most programs. So we run a 3-hour workshop where you build. We have asynchronous Slack support. We're a part of your team throughout the whole 5 weeks, and then we have group coaching every Friday. It's super high touch and highly accountable, and that's because we're dealing with founders. What I would do though to find your price, going back to just like the pricing piece, is I would look into your personal network for 10 to 20 people who look like your customer. I would reach out to them saying you're looking for product feedback, and I would start a basic discovery process of asking really great questions about what they might be doing right now, and then validating what you're thinking about your program. And then I would price test with them. So like when we're doing the career and sales program, we're helping people get 6-figure jobs. And I would just say like, hey, let's say at the end of the program, you go and land a account executive role on 100K a year as a base salary. Would you does $2,000 sound fair if I got you that outcome? And they're like, yeah, that sounds like a bargain. I'm like, sweet, it's a bargain. That's what I'm going to run with for this one. And then I'll revisit the pricing. When, as Ro said, when people are saying it's too cheap, if that's coming from your customer, people who are not your customer, that context and feedback needs to be put on a wall and really considered. People who are your customer, that's valid. And that's where it's like, our customers are saying to us, it's too cheap still because of the outcome. but accessibility and impact is super important to us. So if you get the group, validate it, test it, run it, and then review and repeat. So query on any of that as well, Paz, because I've got tons of points on that. So I'll pause.
Mate, the sales master. I mean, we just got a sales masterclass, so that was fabulous. We love that. But Rose got a point to add, so please jump in. Rose on mute. We can't hear the point. It must be a joke.
Apologies. No, I was just about to say, I was just soaking in Sean's masterclass on sales and pricing. Like that was fantastic. I totally agree with a lot of that. I think so much of that is value. I think like a rough ratio that I would say for people is 3 to 1. So if you can give them a 3x return on whatever they're paying for you, generally people are pretty happy with that sort of trade-off in terms of value. But I like the point that I wanted to make was I think that a lot of the time we massively underprice and undervalue whatever it is that we're doing. And the issue is not, whether we're charging too much, it's that we're charging too little, especially at the start when you don't have any customers, you're trying to convert people, you're just trying to get a few people and you're not sure whether you're going to fill out the cohort or anyone's going to join. Trust me, you go through that every single time. I think it's kind of important both from like a business perspective, but one of the things that I actually took away from the Community Collective cohort that I did as well was, I think people really need to opt in, and you can kind of create the best program and, the best setup and sessions. But if people don't feel engaged and haven't bought into that, they're just not going to engage with it in the same way. And so as much as giving something away for free you think will benefit people more, sometimes they do need to pay for it and feel the pain for them to take action. So, I think there's kind of considerations on that as well, and kind of like leads onto like brand and a bunch of other things as well for the business that are important.
Yeah, I mean, what you pay for, you pay attention to, right? I mean, that is just key. So, Sean, build on. Are we going to have a debate?
I would just say as well, like, what do you want to run? So, like, we only have 10. We run 2 cohorts at a time of 10 companies, and that's because then we're dealing with 20 companies. So, like, between Roy and I, we can't deal with any more than that. Like, that caps our mental load because each business is nuanced, and we understand that. When I was running career and sales, we could have had 50 people because they're actually all going through job hunting, and it looks exactly the same. If someone's building in healthcare and someone's building in cybersecurity, there are nuances that we have to adjust how we're working with them throughout the program. So I think that's the other really crucial part and what type of customers do you want becomes like a pricing question. And you might find that the people that don't want to spend a lot, you actually can't service. And then you go, actually, this model doesn't work for me. Like the effort for me to sell the $1,200 program in career and sales, the reason I shut that down was because it was as much effort as selling something worth 10 grand. So if you're solving a bigger problem, you can charge more. I think it's just what do you want to run as well? So is really crucial when you think about pricing and value.
I love it. I feel like we've got our pre-program setup done. We thought about the price, we've got the time commitment, how to kind of launch that first iteration. Leah, let's talk about from day one. I mean, we all also value community building, and you've got a cohort, you've got this beautiful group of people who have shared purpose, are trying to achieve the same outcomes. Like, what techniques do you use in your roles to foster like connection and actually have people meet other people in that cohort experience from day one?
Yeah, great question. From a best practices perspective, it's always really encouraging your members from day dot to go and introduce themselves in whatever vehicle that may be for your community and for your cohort. For the expert author community, we use Circle, which is a dedicated community platform. And everyone, the very first thing they need to do is go and introduce themselves. And our community team, the members, certainly myself and the rest of the EAC team, we are excited, we are on it, and people are just kind of off to the races. And we're really grateful that engagement and support has really built up over the years. And then shifting over to What the Health, and I'm sure Sean can kind of attest to this, we introduce everybody within our Slack channel, and a lot of props to our community manager, Victoria, who does a great job of introducing people and kind of matchmaking on the fly, which really, I've always admired her kind of purposeful curation of that to make sure that, oh, you're researching this person is also working on that. So there's just this commonality right out the gates. And props to you, Kaz. Community Collective does this really well also. And I'd say even just kind of small accountability groups is something we definitely do with the expert author community as well, that just gives an added layer of extra people you can lean on. Certainly when I went through my first cohort at the Community Collective, Venetia was in my accountability group, which really was the starting point of our beautiful friendship. So I think that really does get people to buy in and feel comfortable right at the onset.
Yeah, I remember interviewing David Perel from Rite of Passage, and he said that when a program starts, you have one job. If you're running that program, you have one job. Every new person that enters, within 24 hours, they must meet one new friend and know who the go-to point of contact is from the team. One new friend and one go-to contact person from the team, because there's nothing worse than like joining the async world and being like, who are all these random people? I don't know anyone. Like there's like 50 of us. I'm just going to like ghost. So if you get one new friend, one point of contact within the first 24 hours, like you're on a good start. And so like, Ro, obviously we've got to talk about like systems, operations, how do you go about setting up your like back-end processes to run a cohort? How do you not burn out in the process if you're the one also behind bringing it all to life?
Yeah, great question. So I would say a lot of our cohort is kind of a lot of our program is kind of based on connections and learning. So one of the big sort of philosophies that the business was built on was this concept that I call positive peer pressure, which is it's kind of been touched on by both Lee and Sean today. It's like a high performing sports team. If everyone else is in the team is kind of like showing up and doing the work, it's very difficult for you to not be the only one not doing the work yourself. And so the way that we kind of design our program, which is, how do we help people with high performance, not just in their business, but in all aspects of their life, is, giving them access to world-class speakers, giving them access to a really curated group of people that we bring into the program. And so a large part of our kind of back-end systems and operations is like really kind of deeply understanding our members and making sure that we kind of understand what their goals are, where they're at with particular things. We've got particular tools that we kind of develop for each of our members to both one-on-one and just kind of across our team sort of understand, what are their goals and objectives that they're trying to take. And then we have particular things that we, systems that we match members with as well. So as everyone that kind of comes into the cohort, we match everyone into pods of 4 to 5 people that are matched based on similar goals, objectives, people that we think will kind of really vibe, and that will be their sort of weekly accountability group over the course of the 8 weeks. And so, yeah, a lot of our sort of back-end system and operations, I would say the front-facing side of things is very light when it comes to things of just, a lot of these kind of speaker sessions are just like very smooth, and a lot of it is kind of Q&A. But a lot of our kind of back-end systems are kind of managing all of the connections and things like that sort of happen, and all of our member details. And in terms of not burning out, I think that's a really valid point, especially given the topic that we focus on as well. And I think there's sort of no getting away with, programs like this can be really intense and full on. I think it's just kind of being really mindful of, where, like, what are the main pillars of things that you can do, and like also how can you take the load off. So I know Paz does a great job in getting a lot of ambassadors and a lot of the community to lean in. That's a big part of our kind of focus as well with our cohort is, I personally don't need to be the one spending all the time and doing all of the one-on-one sessions with everyone, which is why we set up the pods, which is why we spend a lot of the time sort of connecting between cohort members, which is why we spend so much time curating that community as well, is because it's not just about the speakers and the program that they learn from. A lot of it is the connections that they build with everyone else that's there as well. And so for us, it's a little bit different to what Sean was saying, which is we worry less about what's the amount of things that we can kind of handle for other people, but more what are the right people in the room and what does the right quantity look like for us to have enough people for them to sort of connect with in that way.
I love that. I love that. I love the mentality, which basically iterates that point as well, Ro, of think who, not how, instead of like, how am I going to give everyone one-on-one? How am I going to run all these welcome events across like 5 different cities and run all these different like Zoom meetups? It's like, think who, right? Like I don't offer any one-on-ones through any program that we run at the Community Collective because there's like 100 people, but we have 3 incredible coaches and you can book one-on-one sessions with them at any point. You know, we have 16 ambassadors, 45 alumni member leadership roles of mentors, editors, and hosts ready to serve you at any point. Like just that compounding effect of like, it's not just you, right? And so we've got about a couple minutes here before we're going to open up to audience Q&A, and we're going to do a demo as well on Notion. So I want to talk about a bit of Notion and kind of just keep digging down on these like operations and systems. So Ro, like I'm really curious around how are you using Notion in your systems? And then Leah and Sean, I want to hear how you're doing that as well on like the operational when you're like running a program. Like how does Notion kind of play into that?
Yeah, so for us, you know, we, as I kind of mentioned, we use that for all of our applications. So all of our applications, the status of everyone kind of comes in. Once, what you kind of find, especially after the first cohort, is, you know, hopefully if things are going well, you just get a lot of applications that come in, and it's just super hard to kind of keep track of everything. So even just having something that is a little bit automated, something that you can kind of keep track of the status of everything. I have like notes against everyone that I've spoken to, or things that we're vetting through that process is super, super helpful. And Notion has some great templates to help with that. Obviously, you'll need to sort of customize it to fit your own needs. And then, you know, again, through the program as well, there's so many different resources, speaker sessions, all of those sort of things that are there. We just need like a central place for everyone to be able to access all of the content. And again, Notion just becomes like a really easy platform for us to be able to share a lot of that information to people. So a big part of, you know, what we focus on a lot is like that member experience. Like our program, we try and brand ourselves as being quite premium, both in terms of the pricing, but also, you know, in terms of like the speakers that we have, the cohort that we have. And so each single touch point that we have with our cohort needs to kind of like meet that as well. And so part of that is like, how do you just make that experience as seamless as possible for people? Even when it comes to accessing information, those sort of things, you don't want to be sending them to like 25 different links and places and those sort of things to get the information that they need. So keeping everything centralized is super helpful.
Yeah, it's like the one wiki page, right? It's like the hub in that sense. So that makes total, I mean, it's clear. And so Leah, I'm curious, like, what are you doing operationally, programs running? Like, how does Notion, I know you use it internally a lot for your team. So how does that play out?
Yeah, so a bit contrasting, certainly with What the Health, we do use Notion externally for kind of a central piece of information for our community. But with the expert author community, it's entirely an internal tool. It is not used by our members at all. And we really use it for kind of 3 different things. It's certainly our central operating system in a lot of ways. And really what we're kind of doing are 3 different things. We use it as I just mentioned, kind of our internal headquarters as far as planning our cohorts. So all of our retros, all of the information, all of the feedback that we're getting from members, testimonials, it all goes back into Notion so that we really have that, all of that information at our fingertips. Since we are a fully distributed team, it's a single source of truth. So it doesn't matter if I'm in America right now or if I would be in Australia, everyone still has access to the same information and can make sure that they're all on the same page, which I think is really powerful for our small yet mighty global team. And then certainly we use Notion to kind of document and finesse a lot of our standard operating procedures. And that really kind of helps us to, in my opinion, preserve the quality of what we're doing as we scale, because it helps us to kind of understand the decisions that we're making as we're making them and why they're making them. So just to circle back to what we chatted about at the beginning, right? Listening to your members and co-creating. And sometimes you're going to try something and it doesn't necessarily land, or you're just not as thrilled with how much extra effort it's going to take to implement that. That's okay. You can go back and see what you did before and have that really bank of templates really at your fingertips.
Love a template. Like just write it down, give a link, off you go. I mean, Sean, if you want to demo how you're using Notion, I feel like actually practically looking at that and you kind of running us through that, and then we'll jump into some audience Q&A, because give us the secrets, Sean.
Let's do it. The secrets. Let's get some reacts for me though. I'm feeling a bit.
Yeah.
Give me some
All right,
folks.
everyone.
Give me a 9. Bit of fire. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. All right. I'm just going to request sharing.
We love that. We love that. And while Sean is going through as well, audience, we're going to come to some Q&A. So if you've got some questions, pop them in the chat or jump in the queue in Butter and we'll come to you afterwards.
Paz, are you able to
Sean.
see my screen?
It looks great. Stunning.
Awesome. Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, I think first thing is I've been using Notion since 2020 and across my aged care tech company, consulting, internal ops, and now for our sales accelerator. The thing that took me ages to get my head around and like basically was the bane of my existence until it finally clicked was Notion is all about blocks. So you are using building blocks for everything. And I found this really overwhelming when I kind of landed in my first Notion page and I could, slash and all these things pop down. And there's all these templates and there's a marketplace. And we just want to go, we have blocks. We put blocks together to build things. And you just want to start by building something. And each block can be dropped, dragged, and put together or filtered. And the way we use blocks, we use databases, we use pages, images, and forms. These are kind of our predominant blocks. And if you're thinking, Sean, that's great, love the idea of blocks, and but how do I use Notion in my program? What you want to look at is your customer journey. So even if you're looking to use it in your business, it comes back to what is your customer journey. And for us, we kind of have some key stages, right? So there's people expressing interest in our program. That's a Notion form. They then book in a call. So they get a Zap, a calendar link to my calendar for an interview. That goes through a Notion automation. They have the interview, everything's put into Notion. They apply. Once again, Notion, surprise, they get accepted. And then we have a strategy call, which we have a template which we use. Then they move into the program base. And I think what's crucial to call out is we are also building habit, right? We're building habit and recognition to where information is based for our customer. So at every step, they're getting more and more familiar with our brand, which is peppered in across Notion because it's beautifully designed. And ultimately they're saying wow, this is where everything is. And then once they are in the program, the rest of the tech stack unlocks. So we use Miro, we use Slack, and we use Google Meet. I can't see everyone, by the way. So just as an FYI, I can only see my screen, just letting you know if anyone's nodding or smiling or has a question.
We're all smiling.
Hell yeah, unreal. But this is our database. So this is the central source of truth, and everything we do ends up back in this database. So we have everything from the company details to the information, LinkedIn profiles, the application form, strategy call, and we even use AI summary to make sure if me and my co-founder, when we're working with say potentially 20 people, we're oh, we knew we were meant to help someone with this thing, or two people had this goal, let's connect them. We open up the Notion base, we look at the AI summary and we go, yeah, that's who we're connecting. In practice, I just wanted to show you two different things. So first is we have our whole program information stored in Notion. So this is something you unlock after meeting with us, and we've got links set up, you can get into the calendar, apply, you can even be directed through the program. And then what we've done is we took a database and we put it into a gallery view. This is probably my favorite thing about Notion, is being able to flip data into different views that are very user-centric. And this is a gallery view where you can basically just scroll through with buttons to see the rest of our program. And then we've embedded video as well. This is something we do very often for social proof. So there's 25 minutes of people just frothing our program. Our application form is pretty simple. And I think you'll see the branding is everywhere, right? Rose spoke about branding. Branding is important. You're building a business and you want people to identify with something consistently. And this is throughout. So we ask all the questions and this all feeds back to our database. Going back to the slide though, we also have our final program hub. So if you're looking at getting a LMS, a learning management system, and you're thinking, where do I store all that program information? We put everything each week back into Notion. And we have this link at the top of our Slack. It goes back out to everyone after the session's recorded, or the workshop, and all the cohort members can find that there. Outside of what I just spoke about, my other favorite tips is Notion and Slack together creates a happy brain. So if you're building a team or you have multiple people involved, anything that's taking place, any action is creating a Slack notification. So someone applies, they finish the application, they submit an EOI, that goes back into Slack and we take action against that. We have templates set up as well. So, if there's something you're repeatedly doing, our strategy kickoff calls, using the templates is amazing. And finally, the AI summary. I was a bit questionable about the AI summary, I must admit, at the start. and now I can't get enough of it. So we have like our SMART goal interview with our strategy kickoff call. And then we use this, I've basically set up it to summarize the 3 top parts of the SMART goal. And that's our kind of like source of truth for program completion and like someone's been super successful. And then finally, all I would say is outside of building your program, you can use it for like your free courses. Like we have heaps of courses and different templates and things built out because they look beautiful. So thank you. That is my demo. Cool.
Hey, everyone add some reactions. Click the brain emoji for Sean. That was a huge demo. And like, obviously you've really thought about not just the program design, but the customer journey and then where your tech stack plays into that. Because, I mean, everyone here, please add a thumbs up if you've ever felt the pain of on a free Slack plan, all of your content dies and gets deleted after 3 months. And, you need a knowledge base when you're running communities and to understand, okay, like where can I house everything and where does that go? And so it's such a key element to not only think about like what tech stack are all of you using when you're building your program, but how is that customer journey? How are you building habits for them to use the tech stack, which is awesome. Also love that like no one can just buy your program on a website. That's the same, I think with a lot of ours, you have to go through an interview, like build that accountability, right? Pressure creates diamonds. Oh, all right. There is a lot of pressure from the audience who are dying to ask some questions. So I want to open the floodgates because we've got a lot of awesome, intelligent people here. We've got over 80 people have stopped by live today, which is super cool. So I would like to ask everyone, what is one question that you have for Rohit, Leah, or Sean? I want you to type it in the chat, or I would like you to jump in the queue. We already got heaps of people in line, which is super cool. So we're all just going to take like 30 seconds now. I want you to just have a think. Do you have a question about programs, about Notion? We're not going to get to all of it today, but we will create a Notion database afterwards, maybe. Who knows? So everyone just take 1 minute, post in the chat, or jump in the queue, and we would love to just give you 30 seconds to think about one question that you have.
You're on mute, Has.
All right, we've got Brad here live in the queue. So Brad, could you please unmute? Oh, sorry. We've got Brian Williams in the house. I was reading Brad in the chat, but Brian Williams is in the queue. So Brian, you legend, if you can unmute and we'll get you up on the stage, what is your question? Just one sentence and one person you'd like to answer your question, Brian.
Yep. Firstly, awesome session. Rohit, question for you on a quick fire. You're dealing with a very senior audience who are very busy, floating schedule and everything around it. For your cohort program for Tacoma, for the first one you've ran, how do you get that buy-in and deep committed that A, they're going to show up, they're going to contribute, and they're not going to be flaky and I've got board meeting or fires to put out and shit like that?
Great question. I think that was like a really big sort of consideration for us as well, because, as you said, a lot of the time we're kind of dealing with like founders, investors, senior executives. We had professional athletes in the first cohort as well. And, like, as you said, a lot of them have very, very busy schedules. And part of that challenge is, how do you do something that is going to be impactful for them, but not be something that dominates their calendar and pulls them away from really other really important things, and more importantly, gets them to show up when they sort of commit as well. So part of that for us is the way that we sort of design the program. So we intentionally keep it very impactful, but like as minimal use of their, request for their time as possible. So we suggest it's probably 2.5 hours a week that they need to commit to as a minimum. Usually they sort of go a little bit beyond that, especially with their pods, but that's what we sort of ask for from a time commitment. We also make it, as easy as possible for them, just knowing that trying to get 8 weeks at a stretch of people's calendar to be free is impossible. And so we had people that were traveling to like the Cayman Islands and London and all these sort of things, which has made things really difficult from a time zone perspective. And so, we had people that would sort of dial in live, but we also make sure that we sort of record those sessions and make that available and accessible as well. So there's like resourcing available for people as part of that thing. But, part of that is, just making sure that they have as impactful of an experience as possible. So with a lot of the members, I know one of them like personally very well. I've known him since high school, and he's the type of person that like if he just didn't find value, I know that he would just drop off. And so he was my reference point through that of just, how do I make sure that he stays engaged through this, and what does he need to make sure that he's getting a ton of value out of this? And I think as soon as you can demonstrate that to people up front, they will kind of make that a commitment for themselves. But I think you really need to like start strong with that sort of experience and just make sure that they kind of understand that at the end of the day, people are adults and they'll, do whatever they want with things, but you just want to remove as much friction and as possible and create the right environment for success for them, and just show that it's, as meaningful as possible. And part of that is also, like we were saying earlier, instead of making it free, if you get them to pay for it, it just kind of gets that initial buy-in from people anyway, for them to have that consideration versus just signing up for something without that much commitment for them.
It's a great test. If you've got busy people rocking up to your program, then you're doing something right. So Brian, thank you so much for that question. We now have a question from David. David, please feel free to unmute, ask your 1-sentence question, and name the person you would like to answer it.
Yeah, thanks so much. This is great. My question is for Leah. What's something counterintuitive that you've learned from running programs?
Ooh, spicy. I love it.
Fantastic question. What is something counterproductive?
No, counterintuitive.
Counterintuitive. Thank you.
Yeah, do you want to elaborate it a bit more, David?
Yeah. Oh, you're muted.
David's on mute. Oh, we can't hear him. Oh my God, we don't know what he said.
David, you're on mute. Could you go again, please?
Yeah, so it's just sometimes things are clear. Sometimes things you think are one way or the other. Mm-hmm. And I'm just wondering, what is there something that I'm kind of fishing? I'm fishing here. So any way you want me to answer that.
Okay. Listen, I think as far as counterintuitive, don't over rotate on things, and don't be afraid to make the mistakes, right? So I certainly have certain ways that I want to be doing things based on all of my experience. And oftentimes when I'm working with other people, that's just not the process that they want to be working with, or we try something out and it doesn't work for our community members. So I think it's okay to just say, oof, this has been proven somewhere else, but this framework is clearly not going to work in this scenario, and go ahead and shift gears in real time. So I am someone who's a bit of a perfectionist, candidly, and I love a process. So sometimes when things go awry, it can be a bit grating, but it's just kind of taking that deep breath and then just going ahead and shifting gears mid-sentence.
Love that. Sean, we're building on counterintuitive.
Yeah, we actually made our program deliberately before. Most people told us to do 8 or 12 week programs. Ours is 5. And actually probably goes back to what Brian's question was about with founders. We basically are just saying it's a 5-week sprint, which is what a good sales sprint looks like in a startup, 5 to 6 weeks anyway. Can you commit for that time? And everyone says, I'm used to doing 8 or 12 week programs. And I'm like, that's all good. And we hear that a lot. But then at the end of the 5 weeks, people are always saying I'm so glad this was 5 weeks. So yeah, that was something counterintuitive that we did to what we've typically seen. And we're actually told to do as well.
Also, another counterintuitive thing that I've learned is don't accept everyone into your program. Like, be really targeted as to who you are serving. You know, if you're serving everyone, you're serving no one. Like, if you're joining our community cohort program, you have to either be in the work of community building, you're running a membership, you're running a program, like you're at a VC, you're at a co-working space, like you're a founder building a community-led business. Like, and we don't accept people who have never started a community before. They're like, I don't have one yet. Like, I've got no idea who to serve. We go, no worries, let's do one-on-one coaching. We'll get you to that launch. We'll launch the community together one-on-one, and then you can join the program. Because if you have conversations with those people, you get in a breakout room with Sean and you're just like, God, how do you deal with Slack engagement when like someone swears and you got to like moderate the hell out of those guidelines? Like, you know, you want to be in the room with other people and make sure that caliber of the program is like really powerful. So thanks for the spicy question, David. We have time for one last question. Oh my God, we actually had 182 questions submitted for this panel from all of you during the RSVPs, which curated the panel questions, if you didn't notice. But we've got a spicy question for you, Sean, from Isabel, which is, I would like to hear your advice on sales within an industry that is notoriously underpaid and purpose-driven. How do I price something that is sustainable for me and still valued?
Yeah, it's super nuanced. Definitely spicy. I mean, we work with startups, right? Like, startups are notoriously the people who have the least money, but the value exchange is super clear. So, like, if the intent or the outcome, I don't know what your program is looking to do, but people who are saving money buy coffee or lunch or spend $100 on beers every weekend when they're meant to be saving money. Like, it just comes back to how they value that. The way that you get people to value things is, once again, in comparison and having a really clear discovery process. So like in sales, we talk about discovery. It's different to qualification. And it's where we're basically asking questions to make sure, one, we can solve a problem for them. That problem is worth solving. And then that what we're doing is aligned to what they're looking to achieve. So you kind of need to, like, when I hear people having that personal bias, it often means they're from industry and they're thinking about themselves and being like, oh, I worked in aged care for 5 years, like underpaid, understaffed, you know, dealing with a really tough industry. And the idea of adding more things to someone's day or asking for money was like, for me, like, oh, really cringy, because I was just thinking about people I know and myself and my industry experience. And we have to really look at, is it personal bias or is it reality? That's the other part, which sometimes money is an interesting topic. And sometimes there's like, everyone deals with it differently. And even asking the number, like, yeah, it's going to be $2,000 or it's going to be $500, you might like, or $100, you might cringe and like your shoulders go up. And it's important we kind of figure out what our challenge with pricing is. And then by talking to lots of people in the industry and actually asking these questions, you can start to understand even if it's worth pursuing. So I would, instead of jumping to how much do I charge and will people pay, ask yourself, should I build something? And then if I built it, what would people pay? And validate those two things first.
I love it. I love it. Something that I always asked myself when we started running the program was, who is not in the room and why, and what barriers to entry do they have? Every single person who says, no, sorry, I can't do the program, I go, no worries. Like, why? Is it time? Is it money, capacity? Like, right fit? Like, what is that element? And we also built a scholarship fund at the Community Collective where we had so many people applying for the program from Nigeria, and they were community managers managing like She Codes Africa and Google Cloud. And the average salary for a community manager in Nigeria is 1,800 Australian dollars. That's the annual salary. Our program is $2,800. I'm not asking someone for 2 years of their salary. So we built a cohort scholarship fund where we fund 10 places per program ourselves for people who can't access the fund, or female founders or underrepresented groups. I'll put the scholarship program link in the chat, and you can obviously see how that's framed and how that works, because as well, if there are people that you can pay the way forward to and make it more accessible, that's always a good thing in the world. Oh, we could be here for a while, and I know there's like 100 more questions in the chat, so I'm so grateful for everyone being here. We're going to have to wrap today, but if you think we should run another event with Notion, can you just post a yes in the chat, and I'll go tell the Notion team, because we clearly did not have enough time today to get to everyone's questions in the chat. So please, would you like us to run another event with Notion? Keep this conversation going. I know we didn't get to a lot of the stuff. If you do, post yes in the chat. If we get more than 15 people saying yes, I'll go chat to the Notion team. We'll see what we can do. Okay, all right. Leave it with me. No promises, but we'll see. Maybe part 2. Sean, Ro, Leah, we're going to wrap up. I want to hear just your final advice for someone here who's like running a program right now. They're like trying to start a new one. Just like, what's the one thing you wish you knew before you started running programs? I want to go Sean, Leah, Ro, or Sean if you're not ready. Sean's not ready. So Rohit, give us your advice, and then we'll go to Leah, then Sean.
Or can we start with Leah first?
Leah, okay, Leah, the one thing you wish you knew before you started a program.
Yeah, listen, open up Notion and start building out some databases. I think it's pretty intuitive, but getting everything out of your head and onto paper is so helpful. It really allows you to think out loud. It allows you to figure out how you want to design the cohort, how you want to be intentional. And then you can kind of start to build out the method behind the madness, which really makes each different cohort and each experience really beautiful. So I'd say just get it out onto a page and then build it out from there.
Amazing. Rohit, what's your one sentence of advice?
Yeah, I mean, not to get too philosophical, but like I think that a lot of the time we kind of build up these assumptions in our heads of things that can and will go wrong with things, and we kind of like freak out, like, what if I do the wrong thing and just blows up and people hate me? It just is almost never the case. Like nothing's ever as good or as bad as you think it is. And so, I would just say, again, be like laser focused on the reason why you're doing this and who you're doing it for. And I think you can sort of figure out the details of that, whether it's a 5-week, whether it's an 8-week, whether it's 12-week, like it doesn't actually really matter. What matters is like, really understanding who you're doing it for, why you're doing it, and just kind of figuring it out through the process. You're not going to nail it the first time. Whatever you do, like your program is going to iterate so much. Like I look back at some of the, like our operating system was a bunch of spreadsheets, and now we're like building a whole like app for it. It just, everything will improve and get better. You just need to start, and just don't expect it to be perfect or be too hard on yourself with a lot of those things.
Boom. Sean, take us home. One sentence.
Look after yourself. So if you're running a program, like I think when I ran our first one earlier this year, we were running 2 and I had a shattered collarbone. I did 1. And we basically ran like a 54-day marathon of like running our program. And I think, now we kind of have, we actually create schedules to basically like, we're running it now at this point. Like our next one's towards the end of September. We already have in our schedule, like to decompress post-program, run a retro, reflect as a business, and kind of look at wins, successes, things we want to improve on. And yeah, I think looking after yourself, maybe Como Club is the way to go. Talk to Rohit and he'll get you sorted. But yeah, that'd be my biggest advice.
I love it. Well, everyone, you heard it here first. So please add a reaction emoji love for Sean, Rohit, and Leah. Thank you so much for being here, sharing all of your secrets and knowledge on all things programs and community building. And so just thank you all so much for being here live as well. Thank you to our partners at Notion. Thank you to Venetia for being our tech master today. It is an absolute joy to have you all here live. And one thing that we'd all encourage you to have a think and take offline is what's your biggest takeaway from today. If anyone, we're going to send you all the group photo in the post-event email. You can share the group photo online, on LinkedIn, tag us all, share your biggest takeaway so we can all continue learning. Amelie's so sad that it's over, I know, but don't worry, we'll run another event and the learning just keeps on going. So thank you all for being here. That concludes our live event with Notion here today, which is very, very exciting. And a lot of you actually may want to continue the learning. And so I have a very exciting announcement and something freaking crazy that we're doing. But if you're free next Wednesday or Thursday, we're running a 24-hour straight online event. It's a community summit. So if you want to continue learning about community building, how that all works and fits into your programs, you can register for free via the link in the chat. We have speakers all over the world, so it doesn't matter what time zone because it's a 24-hour straight loop. And of course, if all of you need help building programs, building community, the Community Collective where exists to help you actually do that. And so I'm more than happy to speak to anyone about community building and what that might look like in your programs itself. You might be feeling like you're stuck at home, a bit lost, not sure how to build that type of experience or understand how to actually deal with a program and a time-bound group of people that you're trying to serve. So if you felt that lost element, then definitely feel free to reach out, because we've got these incredible speakers joining us for cohort number 7 in just under 2 weeks, and there's 54 spots left. So we'd love to welcome you in and have a conversation. You can download a PDF in the chat to learn all about it, and of course reach out to our team if there's anything else that you'd like to speak about. And so, gang, thank you all for being here live. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you again to Notion, Leah, Sean, and Ro. I will see you at the next event and maybe at the 24-hour loop. Hopefully, I'll be able to sleep at some point during that event. I will see you all very soon. Thank you again. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.